Hi, I'm the 1 in 1.3, welcome to the family. Okay, so I've had a lot of interest in my videos over the last couple of months. I'm not sure if all of you are taking kids out of school or moving from, other curriculums to use the ACE curriculum, but I've just been looking at my statistic and there is quite a lot of interest for that. So I'll try and answer as many questions as I can and I hope that I can do the best in doing this. I have got my laptop down here, so if you do see me looking down and up, that means I'm looking at my notes just to make sure that I'm giving you the correct information. So I had a question from Virtuous Woman, and the question was, how was your daughter able to finish the ICCE by 15? Please do a video on this, thank you. Okay, oh, that's so lovely. It's nice to see the interest in my daughter doing her doing her ICCEs really quickly. But I'd actually like to say that it's not that unusual within the ACE community, basically, the ICCE community. So with my daughter, when she was 6 years old, she was removed from school at the end of year 1. And after about a year of homeschooling, I decided that I wanted to use the ACE curriculum. I've spoken about that quite a lot in many of my other videos. So at the age of 7, we did the ACE diagnostic test. And in that test, it told me where her gaps were. So even for my daughter, she had some gaps from previous, she wasn't very old as she started homeschooling, but she had some gaps from the previous years as well. So at the age of 6 years old, she was very, very good at reading. So she already was quite high performing at the age of 6 anyway. She was, if I go back a little bit further, by the age of 4 years old, she knew all of her phase 2 phonics and she knew how to write her name, because I'd been teaching her that from quite a young age. Going back a little bit further than that, she wasn't really, nothing really happened in terms of her developmental stages as a baby that was different for many children. She got her first teeth at the age of 14 months. Her first, so she had no teeth until after the age of 1. She started walking at 14 months. She potty trained herself. So at the age of 2, I think she was 2 years and 2 months. And what it was, my older boy, he took a little bit longer to potty train. I'm not going to say which one. And then my daughter, it's like she potty trained herself. So I remember with her, we went to Chessington Zoo. And I put some pull-ups in her little rucksack and said to her, you've got your pull-ups here in case you want to, go to the toilet, don't want you to have any accidents. And I remember at 2 years and 2 months, she said she wanted to go to the toilet. When I took her to the toilet, I tried to pull her pull-ups back up and she wouldn't let me do that. She kept saying, no, I want to wear my pants. So I said, okay, just make sure you don't wet yourself. So when we was at Chessington, I took off the pull-ups and I put on her pants. I remember for the whole day she stayed dry. I was like, okay, that's good. When I got home, I put her back in pull-ups and put her to bed. And when I woke up in the morning, her pull-ups was on the floor and she'd gone to her bottom drawer and put on knickers. And that was the end of her journey. She didn't need to be potty trained at all. She just figured out that I didn't need to wear these nappies anymore, I'm a big girl. And she probably so embarrassed me saying that. And then she wore her own pants. That was her at the age of 2, and at the age of 4, she had very, very good language skills, and she learned how to, like I said, she knew her phase 4 sounds by the age of 4. I'm not sure if that makes a difference or not, but that's her story prior to being homeschooled, prior to kind of leaving school. In year 1, she passed her phonics screening test. She scored 38 out of 40, which again is quite a high mark for children doing the phonics screening test. And by the time she was homeschooled, she was still doing very well, but there was lots of gaps that she had in her learning. So back to what I was saying before, when I did the test with her, we had to go back a few, not necessarily levels, but paces below her age, because the ACE was able to pick up on some of the areas that she needed more help with. I can't remember what they were now, maybe do grammar terms or something, but there were certain things you have to fill in. So with the ACE method, you cannot move on until you've filled in those gaps, but it's a really good, strong starting point, a very good foundation to get your child learning at, where they need to go. So I would say if you have a child right now who's maybe just that they're 10 years old, if they were to do the ACE curriculum, it's very unlikely that they'll be working at the same age range as they would whilst they're in school, because the ACE is a gaps-based method and it picks up all those learning gaps as well. So once we had filled in her gaps at a very young age, she was then able to consistently pick up her method and fly forwards, because you have to, every single pace that you do, there's a test at the end of the pace and you're not allowed to score anything less than 80%. Whereas at school level or GCSE level, I'm not sure what the percentage is, but the bar is a lot lower. And this is why with the GCSE system, or the national curriculum system, we have a tiered method. So a child could go through school having so many gaps in their learning, get to the end of year 11 and get maybe a 4 or 5, which again is an average score. It's good for a child to get those levels. They're able to go on to college and go on to do different things with those levels there. But if you think about a child getting a grade 4 and a child getting a grade 9, there's a significant gap of learning. So these children could have been in the same class at school the whole time, but there's a gap in their learning at this point. But those gaps for the child who scored a 4 never really got filled in. So they just kind of coast through life, maybe working out how to plaster over the areas that they're not as secure in, whereas a child who scored like a level 9, there'll be less gaps in their learning. Not to say that a child who scored a 4 or 5 has not got better skills in some aspects than the person that got a level 9, because every child is different, every child is unique, and there could be other abilities that this child has that this child doesn't have, and vice versa. But the thing about the ACE curriculum is that there's not that big enough gap, because the child, there is still a tiered system. So the child, you still can have a child who will score an A, B, C, D or E. So there will still be a certain amount of gaps in their learning, but not enough to pass to the next level. So with my daughter, she was fine. So every time we went through each level, I would always go back and do another diagnostic test to see if there's anything that she missed out on. And I would also incorporate some of the things I do at school. So when my children were in year 6, for example, I would still give them old SATs papers. I've got a video about how to use SATs papers in your homeschool as well. Just click on the link over there. But I would give them SATs papers to do, as well as doing the work they were doing within ICCE, because at that stage, I had never done it before. I didn't know many people who were using the curriculum, and I wanted to make sure that I was making the right choice for my children. So obviously now that I'm past that stage, I feel better. But when I was in it, I was quite nervous. I had to take a lot of faith and pray and asking God, help me to make a decision, to see this way, to be the right way. Because life is always, life in this zone before 16 years old is all about GCSEs. It's a big thing that people worry and they panic about their child not having a GCSE. So it took a lot of faith on my part to keep going with them, to make sure that they were able to have a good enough qualification and be able to go on to their next stage. Now that I've gone through it with 3 children, I will stand by it. I can vouch for the curriculum and I believe in the curriculum. There's a lot of negative press in terms of people that are non-Christians about our curriculum. Not a lot, but there is quite a bit of negative press about the curriculum, especially when it comes down to things like creation and evolution. But my kids have done fine. If you followed me for a while, you will see from our journey that the kids have done okay, So with my daughter, she just continued that way. So as she was going through the curriculum, she was, I think by the time she got to level 8, she would have probably been about 12. So grade 8 is like year 8, similar. She was about age 12 when she was on grade 8, but it took a long time to get through level 8 and level 9. So from the age of 12 to 13, for 3 years, she spent 3 years on grade 8 and grade 9, and that happened during COVID times, because ideally we wanted her to get through the intermediate level as well before she was 15 years old, but that never seemed to that didn't happen, because there's a lot of reasons as to why we didn't go for the next level. But that's literally it. So she just continued doing her paces. It took about 18 months per level for her to get through it all. We had like a plan, we had a structure, we had an idea in mind of how many paces she needed to do. So with the curriculum as well, one thing that's another positive of there is that you can kind of work out how many pages to complete depending on where it is you want to go. If you haven't got a goal in mind, your child doesn't necessarily want to go to university or college at the same time as their friends, you just keep working at the same pace as other children their age. But obviously for my children, all of them wanted to go to college or sixth form, so we had a certain amount to do. So she would have to complete like maybe 10 pages a day per subject to kind of get to where she wanted to be. Whereas when she was younger, she was only completing maybe 2 or 3 pages a day. So really, the way that you can make it work by getting your child to go through it quicker is by increasing the amount of pages that your child does, but making sure that they're doing it right as well. And then also with the testing, making sure that when they get to the checkup and the self-test, which is something in the paces, you've got to make sure that they've got those really good. They've got to memorize it. They've got to learn the content before doing the test. And yeah, that's the reason how she did that. So obviously when she finished her ICCE, she had just turned 15, because my daughter's born in May. She had just turned 15, so almost like just out of 14 to 15. And then the next stage would have been to do the intermediate level as well, and then go off to A-levels. That's the route that most people take that I know of. They will do the ICCE general level and the intermediate and then go on to A-levels. My sons, both of them, they did the general and then went straight to A-levels. And I think the transition was a little bit hard in some subjects for my oldest boy. So I've always spoken about him because he's the one that kind of pulls my heartstrings a bit, where like he was the first one, the one that was almost like being tested on. That's what he says. So I always feel a bit like, oh no, did I get it right with him? But he did the general level only and then went into A-levels to do biology and chemistry. He found the chemistry so hard. But I know of other students who've done the AC curriculum and done their general level and the intermediate level, went on to college or sixth form and did absolutely fine. Because with the intermediate level, at the time that my son did it, you can only cover the chemistry and the physics unit at the intermediate phase. By that time it's too late. They have made changes now, so at the general level you can purchase other papers that cover the physics and the chemistry elements. There's lots of wonderful improvements for that as well. And my middle son's he's decided he doesn't like college. He's coming back home to finish off his intermediate level and his advanced level and see what happens after that. So yeah, I'm going to talk to you about that in another video as well. I've also got another video coming out with my children talking about their experiences of the ACE curriculum and how they think it benefited them or if it didn't benefit them. So watch out for that video as well. So that's how my daughter did it. So now she's going off to an independent school. She got a space at a school, really, really happy. It was her second choice independent school, and she will be studying 4 A-levels there. It actually was 4, but they've had to drop one of them because it was in the same column as some of the others. But the 4 exams that she did was based on religion and ethics, I think it was. I might be wrong. Politics, English literature, and another one. Who's that? I can't remember what the other one was. I can't remember what subjects will you be studying again, sorry?
For my A-levels, I will be doing law, politics, philosophy, English literature, and an EPQ, which is an extended project qualification.
Thank you. Over here. So what happened, and an EPQ as well. So obviously, because she's done law at home as a GCSE, she will, when she gets to university, her aim is that she would have had 4 A-levels as well as the EPQ. And then she's got other things that she does as well, like playing the harp, and she's done like her grade 3 theory now, so she's just trying to work on other theory sets as well. But that's how she did it, and you can do it too. The only thing I would say is that if your child is already on a road of doing GCSEs, I wouldn't say switch later on. It's probably easier for someone from the ACE to switch to GCSEs rather than it is for somebody on the GCSEs to switch to the ICCE because of the gaps that are in there, and there'll be many gaps identified, and it means there's much more time and pressure that's put on the child to try to complete these places within a certain amount of time. But if you haven't got a goal of going to college or school at the same time as your child, if your child hasn't got a goal of going to college or school at the same time as their peers, then they're absolutely fine. So for my son now, who's coming back home to do his intermediate and advanced level, he doesn't have a goal for anything now. He just decided, he went to school for 1 year, college for 1 year, he didn't like it. He's now going back to the homeschool section, but he's going to take his time to get through the intermediate and the advanced level, so he's absolutely fine again. I hope that answers your question. I have a Facebook group as well, by the way. I've just opened up a Facebook group recently. So if you'd like to talk to me on a more personal nature, where I can like add files and give more information, join my Facebook group. I'll leave the link down below. I look forward to speaking to you all soon. God bless. Bye.